Yeah, my relationship with Tilting Axis is the result of my work with Res Artis. Res Artis is an international network of art residencies. I was president of Res Artis for about 8 years. So it's a network that helps residencies address issues that are specific to residency. So one of the residencies that we got involved with in the Caribbean was Fresh Milk, which is Annalie Davis's residency. And so through her work, at some point she was involved in doing a mapping of residencies and other sort of cultural um, agents within the Caribbean. So that mapping project fit very well with a mapping project we had, which was to map all the residencies in the world. So that's how we got to know some of what was happening in the Caribbean. And then when she and Holly Bino decided to engage this project of Tilting Axis, I really wanted to get on board because it was a good opportunity, I thought, for our membership to gain access to and contribute to what was happening in the Caribbean. Right now, so after being president, I'm now an honorary board member. So part of what I do is I'm sort of an advisor to their projects and also to help organize these kinds of conferences. So, we're working on a bunch of different conferences at the same time. We have one coming up in Finland, in a small place called Rovaniemi in Finland, which is in the Arctic Circle, and that conference is going to focus on ethical tourism. So these are very site-specific themes that we address, and we usually find a host, one of our members, to host the meeting. And so that's the kind of thing that I help with, is sort of help to program these conferences. Yeah, well, that's a good question because I mean, so wherever you go in the world, you're on indigenous land, right? No matter where you go, somebody's been there for thousands of years. And so that's definitely the case in the Caribbean. I mean, the Caribbean is the sort of the first place that had this encounter between folks in what is now called the Americas and Europeans, right? So there's always this situation of privilege in terms of the Caribbean being this place of contact, and part of that story is also the eventual demise of native populations from the Caribbean. So the native history and the contemporary engagement with indigenous communities in the Caribbean is very complicated. Some places will claim that that natives have been wiped out for a long time now. Other places will very much honor a presence of say Taino communities or other kinds of Caribbean indigenous communities that still practice some of their traditions and have a sense of identity. So it's a very complex space. And it's one that I'm looking to learn more about, and there are folks doing research on Caribbean indigeneity, but it's very different from other parts of the Americas and other parts of the world. The most important thing about Tilting Axis is that it tries to unite at least the cultural sector of a place, a region that's, even though it has this term Caribbean, has very little cohesion. I mean, it's split up dramatically and violently by a history of colonization that is very different. You have Spanish, you have Dutch, French, English-speaking Caribbean, but in addition to that, you have many other languages that point to migrations that have to do with labor or forced migration in terms of an African diaspora. So very complicated, very split apart in terms of a history of colonization, and in many ways that division remains. The French Caribbean still has a very intimate relationship with France, the Dutch with the Netherlands, and so on, right? Spanish with Spain, Britain. And we want to try to, through Tilting Axis, we want to try to break through those linguistic and cultural barriers to sort of try to bring the Caribbean together and have discussions about the arts in a way that's productive, in a way that allows for collaboration and the leveraging of resources. So that's the idea.